Hello everybody, and this is OES2018SP2 clusters part 2. So we created a cluster, we created 2 volumes on the cluster, and the cluster is currently up, and we can see the 2 LUNs here. And I now want to add CIFs to this cluster so that Windows machines can access these volumes. So I'm going to log into iManager. And we can look at the cluster. So there's my CL1 cluster, all green, only one node in the cluster. I'm going to my resources, and pool 1 server is my my cluster resource that we want to have CIFs available. When I installed it, I did not have CIFs installed, so that under protocols is not available. And it also put in this name that I'll probably want to change. Probably similar to the CL1FS1. So we need CIFs installed on the server, and we do that in YAST in the OES install and configuration option. And I'm going to expand this and move this over so we can actually see the names here. So we could do Apple file protocol if we had, I guess, old Macs. I think the new Macs use CIFs, so there we go. Don't know if they really say anything interesting in there that anyone wants, but CIFs will let us have Windows users connect, although I'm not doing any AD, so the user would be prompted for a username and password, and the username and password would be coming from eDirectory, which is installed and is the core for managing through iManager. And I don't know if there's any other services I'm planning on installing. Doesn't look like it. So CIFs is it. I'm hitting accept. The NLMs, the RPMs are being installed. Now it's going through and reading all the OES configurations, and then once this finishes reading, it'll give us any options that we need to set. This is where you always come to configure OES services that are installed. Mostly it's for the install purpose. So if we come down here, oh look, it has a red message saying we need to do something and configure is enabled. Most likely it just needs the administrator password, and I click in and bing, it's popping up for the admin password. Here we go. I've entered that. It's telling me the IP of the eDirectory that it's going to use to connect to for CIFs. One of the things, well, it's not here yet, we're using proxy, so we're good there. Here's one thing that by default you can say what context the eDirectory users will be in when they're able to log into the server. So that's good for if you want to restrict by OU, like if there was other people I'm splitting these shares with, and they're in a different OU. I'm at home. Let's say there's an O, or another O, or even an OU for work, and I don't include it here. They can't log in with CIFS. So usually I don't take this default, and so I'm going to delete that. And instead, I like to just go right from the O. So anyone in the home organization, and then you click this enable subtree search. Now any user that's created or is located under the home organization will be able to log in with CIFS. So that keeps it nice and simple, but if you did not want them to participate in CIFS, they need, as long as they're not in this path, anything below home, they will not be able to log in. So that's my settings, and voila. Now this is being installed on one of the cluster nodes. I only have one server, so it's hard to envision it, but the cluster nodes have to have CIFS on them, and basically they have to have all the services on them. Your cluster resource is really like a virtual server. It's not, it just gets an IP and the app runs on a node, cluster node. So the cluster node has to have all the services on it. So now that CIFS exists, you have to configure it on your cluster node. Then you can tell the cluster resource that it can use that. So I'm going to minimize, yes, and then under protocols, I now can go to CIFS. Darn it, I thought sorry. I thought I extended this. It did not take, so it keeps logging me out after a few minutes. I apologize for that. And file protocols, CIFS. Okay, so here you have to select your cluster node, and right now I only have one, so when I bring up a second node, I will have to do this same thing. So I'm going to drill down. Here's my home, then my servers, and CL1N1 is my my server, my node. That's why it's node N1. That's my naming convention. This is a cluster resource. CL1FS1 is my cluster node that we created that has the volumes. So it looks like it's a server, but it's virtual. It's similar to virtualization. Hold on one second here. Click on that so I can do that. Yeah, it's similar. Oops. It's close to like container virtualization, but not really. But it's very similar because the actual resources, the cluster resources running on a node. So, and then it uses a virtual IP and that, so it's a virtual server. All right, anyway, I found CIFS. It's showing me what my settings are for CIFS, and here this CIFS server is going to be the name of the server. If you're using Wins, you can put that in. I'm not. I want to support DFS. Then it's telling me I must hit save because I made a change. So, oops, I don't see save. Click OK. All right, then I have to come back. Sorry. All right, repeat the task. Okay. Anything else we want this, I can say node 1 in the comment. The server, I should not have to change anything else for the most part in here because we did that during the install. You can pick if you need signatures. I'm not going to change anything. Defaults is usually good. It's telling you that CIFS is currently running and available. I can stop it. And so I just want to click. Oh, it's been modified. I forgot to hit OK after the distribution list. Sorry. All right, authentication. And here we're just seeing, hey, it's going to be part of a work group. So if you wanted to change your work group name, because I'm not doing domain, you could point to, I believe, a domain here. But that look, it's not the best way to do it. You should just do the join the domain and use the AD credentials. So it's going to be in work group. Here's what it accepts. You can come in here and strengthen it. I'm going to leave it at the default setting here and leave that alone. Not changing anything, so I'm going to go to share, and here we see nothing because this file server is a node and it's not sharing anything because it doesn't have its own anything set up, like no NSS volumes that are local. And then even in, I think the context will carry over because we said everything under home. And the one thing that you see here, you can't checkbox sub folders, so or sub OUs or whatever it is. So it won't search. So that's why you want to do it in that install screen. It's harder to do from here because there's no option. All right, so we're done. So this server has now is sharing its it's capable of sharing CIFS, but it has no CIFS shares. So now we can go back to our clusters and our resources and go to this pool server and tell it that it can use CIFS. And that would be under protocols. And now we say, yeah, we're using CIFS. Apply. And I believe the load scripts now will take this information, and we can't change that here. But if we go into scripts, we should see CIFS. Here's the CIFS. Here, and also when we added our volumes, it's automatically put these in the script for us. So iManager is kind of nice to make sure, like, it does a lot of this for you, but when you want to customize it, you'll have to come into the script and oops, I went past where I wanted to be, and basically see the what IPs it's here, like what server, blah blah. You can check all this. That all looks good, and I'll check the unload script, and we see the same thing. There's the sifs remove. Okay, and I think we're done. So now sifs is working on the cluster node. I'm sorry, on the cluster resource. And so now this server is sharing out on the pool server using that the name that was listed. I forgot what it was. The name that was listed here with the -W in it. Protocols. There we go. Pool 1W. And we should be able to see this in our from a Windows machine or even Linux machine. So far we have our file system set. We're all ready to share, and I believe we should bring another node into our cluster to make the cluster a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to bring up another server and get it ready for joining this cluster. So I will switch. Let me minimize this. So I'm booting my OES2018-2 node here, or VM, and then the node will be CL1-N2. So let's boot it. And this is a base 2018SP2, so it's going to need some services installed. Alright, so I changed the color of this server's background just so we can differentiate between the two. So this server is just a base install with none of the apps, installed yet. In fact, I didn't even put, like, the browser and Yast on the desktop, which I'm going to do now. So basically, right click, add to desktop, and then utilities, system tools, add to desktop. And as you see, the icons look funny until you double click on them. Trust and launch. And we'll let that run. I don't really need the browser on this node. We can control this node. Once we get it in eDirectory, we can do all the configuration from the other node all through iManager. And then trust and launch. We do need Yast. Wada bing, wada boom. I'm going to type OES, and we'll go to our install. First thing I'm going to install is eDirectory. Let me open this up a little bit, and I'm only going to install that. Once eDirectory is in, the other stuff's easier to install. So eDirectory is good. We could connect to the other servers, eDirectory, but eDirectory kind of auto clusters. So when you connect a server to eDirectory, I believe the first three will auto replicate all the partitions in there by default. There's only one partition, but eDirectory is capable of separating your O's, your organizations, and even your OUs as a separate container for replication. And so I could probably do a whole eDirectory video too. But it's pretty nice. Again, it's because it's designed to scale very large. You may not want to be replicating everything to all your sites. So you can limit what gets replicated. And they even have filtered replicas, so you can even filter objects out. eDirectory even has some programming capabilities, so you can automate functions in there. And then Micro Focus even has an identity management product that just will do all your provisioning and business logic for how you integrate with other systems. I have used it with Active Directory, so we use Active Directory as more of like a resource to control Microsoft products. And so eDirectory would, with Identity Manager, push attributes into Active Directory and also do any provisioning with Exchange and all that. And everything's controlled through iManager and the IDM system. So it's like a glue. eDirectory is really good at connecting all your systems. So then you can also manage a lot of systems. You can talk to databases and text files and generate emails, a lot of stuff. But that's way out of scope for this, and it's a different product, the IDM product, in there. But you get some basic stuff in eDirectory itself. All right, so we're going the typical configuration. I really don't have an SLP server at this point. And my time server, I don't know if I have the NTP on my other box. I'm going to point to it. And we're doing an existing tree, so hopefully that is functioning. And my eDirectory name is cloud. And then it wants to know the host name or IP address of at least one system that's holding a replica of eDirectory on it. And a replica is a partition of whatever OU we're going into. Then it's going to want to know our admin user, our admin password. Where do we want the server to be? And I did an OU servers under my home. So my user is in home. My servers are under servers home. And that should be good. That's fine. And if you ever used SLP, it's a strange service, but it was designed to replace broadcasts. And so you can make zones like this scope. You can make the scope of your broadcast, and then all of the servers using SLP can subscribe to SLP scopes, and they can see all these services that are available. Microsoft does this through DNS. That was their solution for doing it. They made a application, I believe, or service records in DNS, but SLP was the service that was there. Yeah, it doesn't like. Oh, I don't know why. It says it can't find my other node. I'm probably in the wrong network. Let me go resolve that. I will be back. Okay, so I didn't check what my IP was. I was on the wrong network. So this server needs some configuration. So I'm going to abort my configuration. Sorry about that. And I'm going to go back here and do network. And then I will do a test to make sure I can actually see the server. I don't use VirtualBox a lot, and so I'm kind of a little clumsily getting things configured here. I'm usually VMware or KVM Zen, and and a lot of that I could do from command line, so it's kind of funny to be struggling in the GUI. Alright, so yeah, that is wrong. This, yeah, I don't know what I was doing there. I believe that was an earlier config. I'm going to put this guy at 20, so my original server, oh, look at the name even. That didn't supposed to be there. The original network was there when I first set it up, and then I changed the network, and I didn't change this machine because it's been offline since. Alright, here we are. That looks good. I don't know if there's anything else I need in here. I don't think so. Oh, sorry. I was going too crazy on the clicking. Alright. Alright, so now I got a new IP. I have to change here. Yeah, see? CL1N1 demo network 888. I don't know if I can actually reach 888, but it is what it is. And then my routing. Yep, that's wrong. That would be my default route all the way. Don't think that's actually going anywhere, but we will see. So that's what the network should look like. Once it's configured, I will go to the command prompt and see if I can ping the other server. So I check my IP, it's correct. I will ping 192.168.56.10. Good, they're talking. I will now close my favorite little place to be and get back into here. Oh, dum-dum. I meant to type OES here. One thing with YAST that has changed, and I'm not sure if this is a desktop or anything, but YAST is all single click inside, which is kind of annoying when everything else is double click. There may be a setting to change that, but in the older systems it's double click, and in this system it's single click. So you already see I've already installed I installed the files for eDirectory. It's just not configured, so I'm just going to hit accept here, and then this will bring us back to the configuration screen where it's asking me how I want to configure eDirectory, and it was the screen we were at previously. And once again, I will say the other server is the time server. Cloud is my tree. And I am cn admin home. Oop. And then this would be the server context, which I just overtyped what I had there, but it's OU equals servers and O equals home. And I keep all that. It will tell me about SLP. I say sure. In a larger environment, I would configure the SLP because it's needed to do a lot of things when it does server lookups and service lookups. But in this demo, it doesn't need to be there. So it now shows me my configuration, which looks good. It's going to enable Linux user management. And on this server, I'm not enabling anything. So users would not be able to log into this server unlike the other server, just so it's different. I can come back in here and change this. That could be another video. All right. So we just take those defaults, and once E directory is in place, I will do the other OES services, especially CIFS, but I need to do cluster. I need to install the cluster software and CIFS, and I could do those both at the same time. But I usually try to do, I have to get the time server functioning on that first node. So our servers are, I know, stop complaining. Our servers are not time syncing at this point, which would be a bad thing in the real environment. But normally you can point to now all those public time servers or have a central time server in your environment. It's just bad if one server gets off time, so right now we're not doing too much, so they shouldn't be too out of sync, but I will set up the time server. While this is running, I think I can switch over and install the time server and configure it, I think. I said that really bravely, right? Alright, so show me this one. And come over here. NTP. Let's see what we got. Yeah, this one was set up, but I'm thinking that I didn't do this. Open port on firewall. So that was dumb. Remember to open the port on the firewall, or don't run the firewall. I prefer to open the ports up, but that gets you all the time when you're especially when you're first setting up. It's better to, if you can, if you're in a safe environment, to have the firewall off, set everything up, make sure it's working, and then turn the firewall on. But it all depends on your environment. But that's usually the fun with messing with the firewall. It's probably trying to go talk now to the pool, and I think my NAT is broken on here again because of my poor VirtualBox networking skills on here. I just haven't had time to mess with it. My NAT my NAT doesn't NAT for some reason, so I'm doing host only networking. Alright, I'm going back to my second guy, and he's still chugging along. I'll go to NTP and open up this guy's firewall port for time also. Okay, so E directory is installed. I'll sneak over to NTP. Oh, I'm sorry if you don't know what NTP is. That's your network time. It's network time protocol. And I don't have my server in here because, so I'm going to add it. You are going to get your time from 192.168.56.10 test. Hey, there we go, it's happy. And I'm going to say OK. And then, can't remember if I went over here. Yep. I say, yep. Make sure you're open also. Alright. So now I can go back to OES. Oh, one thing I'll show you before I install more pieces. Actually, I'll click on this. Give this thing a chance to load. I'm going to sneak back over to my other first node and go to iManager. There we go. And what we can see, I'm going to browse the tree, and we go to Home, and then Servers, and we should now see Node 2. I see the proxy for Node 2. Oh, here's the server. There's Node 2. See, so the server's now in the tree. And I could have just done a search and searched for NCP server. And then go here. And there's all our servers. One of them is a virtual server. It's a cluster node, cluster resource. These are the cluster nodes. So that's looking good. And now we'll go back to the server we're working on. And we're preparing this one just to join the cluster. And we know the cluster is going to need CIFS. The cluster is going to need it's going to need net storage. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It doesn't need net storage. Is web-based access to your files. So if you, again, like a NAS, if you wanted to access your files through a web server, it's available. They have other tools that are a little better than net storage, but net storage is pretty good. Oh, NSS is already installed on here. Come on, stop bouncing. I keep doing that. So I wanted CIFS, and that's it then. That's what I need. I had net storage already on here. I am not doing iManager on this box, so except on CIFS. The thing that still needs to be done then too is you need shared storage for clustering. And I'm going to do that through the virtualization, but you could do it through iSCSI or through a SAN. You could set up another OES box as a iSCSI SAN. You could set up another Linux box as an iSCSI SAN. You can buy a real SAN, or a commercial SAN, I should say. Um, many options. All right, we'll wait for this to load the configuration. And as you see, we get the red for NSS also. It needs the admin password. We double check all the settings. That all looks good. Hit next, and it's done. And then CIFS will need a change. Now it's not asking for a change, but it needs one. And again, you have to make sure configuration says enabled for you to come in here and make a change. And you can switch it from enabled to disabled to do that. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it's probably a limit of this interface that they had to do that. This part is, exactly what we want. That looks good. It's using the E directory of the local server. We now can point additional server, like I could say an additional server is the other node, which I will do. And let's see, this next one doesn't ask me here, but I know I want to do a subtree, but I don't want it just under server, so I delete that one, add. Oh, I guess I didn't do the browse. Let me do the browse this time. There we go. Bink, and hit OK. And now enable the subtree search so that all users under home can access it. And it's very important to make sure that your settings in here match on both nodes. The server does not check that for you. It assumes that you're so awesome that you don't make mistakes, but you can. I've done it where I've not had both servers set up correctly, and when I failed over, all of a sudden nobody could access their share, and I felt stupid. All right, so that should be what we need here, and voila. We'll go again. Let this write out. This server has cluster services. Oh, that's the one. I don't remember if I have to look. I don't think I did cluster services. Oh, before I do cluster services, I want to add the shared volume so that I can tell cluster services to use that split brain detector SBD volume. So I'll wait for this to finish, and I'll be back. I'm going to shorten it for you. Okay, so here I am on node 2. I got the shared drives going. It was a little bit of a pain because of this VirtualBox has a limitation that if you don't have thick provision drives, you can't share them. And I didn't want to make thick drives, and I didn't want to set up another box to be the one sharing. So through the magic of iSCSI, I am now sharing the drives, but it's not optimal, but it gets us through this demonstration. So I now want to install the Micro Focus OES cluster services. So I've checked the box. And one interesting thing is if you had some NetWare clusters around, you could migrate them to the new OES cluster. There's some migration capabilities, but you can basically join the NetWare cluster and then migrate the resources to the Linux box, and then get rid of the netware. Anyway, that is that. So here I'm installing the cluster services, and the reason I wanted the shared drives available now is during this install I can select that disk, the split brain detection disk, and you can also add it later, but it's part of the configuration. So we're letting it read all the OES configuration, and once it's done, it'll let us configure our cluster services. Okay. So by default, it's not being configured. When you're ready to actually add the server to a cluster, you would click on the disable, which then enables the cluster services, and this will allow us to add what we want. So first it needs the admin password, and then we're going to an existing server, so it's asking what directory services should this thing use. I'm saying both these servers are available as directory servers. That way, if I'm ever doing any maintenance and this directory becomes unavailable, the cluster stays up. So it's always good to have multiple directories. More servers, the more robust your cluster is. So now it's that we have the existing, it knows, or it doesn't know the name, so I gotta go find it. I'm going to browse for it under my servers. There should be a cluster box. So we search for the cluster, which is CL1. And hit OK. So that's the name of our cluster. And it doesn't ask me for that shared storage. In this one, it doesn't ask me for any other information because it's going to read it from the other cluster. We are using our proxy server, the name and IP of this node, and to start the services now is what I want to do. Hit next. It should start configuring. Okay, so this part of the configuration for my second node is done. I have a terminal here where I can do cluster status just to see, and it sees it. It's still saying it's coming up. It's not all there, but I can do cluster resources, I think. Yeah, same thing. But so we know we're attached, but we're going to leave this node because you really don't need to be on node 2 anymore. Oh, hey! What did I click on? I accidentally clicked. That's the one thing I was telling you, that he has to single click, which is stupid. Alright, so I'm going to open I don't need this. That was part of my little iSCSI magic. I had to share the disks between the two VMs using iSCSI, which is beyond what I wanted to show in this demo, so I'm not going into any of those details. That could go into another video. That would be not, I don't even have to be OES specific. Alright, so now we need to make sure the CIFS, let me refresh here, the CIFS, I hate that, let me, come on, get out here. Alright, we have to make sure the CIFS is configured correctly on the actual node 2. So, good. My browser's giving me problems. Just so nice. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Browser. Alright. Give me a second. I'm going to pause so you don't have to go through my pain. Alright, so let's see now. I should be able to go to File Protocols like we did previously. Oops, I need to scroll. Alright, and then CIFS. And this time we pick our other node. I'll do the search. Home, servers, node 2. And as you can see, I'm doing all the management. I could actually have this browser on a different machine, but iManager is now managing that node. We're kind of done touching it. Once it's configured, it's basically an appliance. So we need it just to have the same options like distributed file systems, because I clicked that on the other node. And I don't think I had to do anything else. That was, oops, let me just go back in there. And it's running, which is all we really needed to look at. And it did both those settings. And oh, I could put a comment on this one. Node 2. My very descriptive notes. Alright, so now we know, come on, oh there it goes. Alright, so we know that they're the same there. Now, the thing that we haven't seen yet is the My Clusters, and this time it's going out and checking the status, and oh, status not happy. Okay, so there's a problem. Only one node of 2 is available. Why is that? Node 2 is saying it's the master node now. Okay. Why is that? Oh, my my services have moved over, and they're now running on node 2. And let's see if why it did that. I can look at the journal. Cluster status. Well, my this cluster node dropped out. Alright, so I can't really reboot this server. Because it's doing the storage for the whole cluster in this demo. If we maybe can see, did it drop out? Oh, yeah. So what I need to do, because I'm pushing everything through iSCSI, I believe now I have to remount my volumes on this node so that it can access them. It's saying, hey, these are no longer available. So give me a few seconds to straighten that out. Okay, so I fixed the issue I ran into. It was part of this virtualization issue. It didn't allow me to share the drives. So instead, I have created another box in OpenSUSE 15.2, and I put the shared drives on there, and I'm sharing them out via iSCSI back to the server. So this is my SAN, the OpenSUSE box, and then here I'm on the My Clusters, and you'll see 2 nodes. It's happy to go. Look at the resources, and one of the things you could do, like so right now, if I click on my pool 1 server, it'll show you what node it's running on, and we can actually switch the node. So actually I'm in the wrong spot. I think I could do it from here. Go back to the cluster and click on the cluster. Yeah, there we go. So now we can see my cluster, and you could see that node 1 has this little icon on it. That's the master node, and we're running on node 1. So if I look at my node 2 server, and I do, let's just say space or pools, and you can see right now pool 1's deactivated. And if I go back to my node 1 and minimize my Firefox, you can see the volumes are actually loaded on the desktop. So I'm going to now migrate this service over to the other node. So you can do that right from here by hitting migrate. There we go. And it'll ask you, now we only have 2 nodes, so it knows which one, but if you had more nodes you could pick. And I'm going to say sure, let's do it. And here we see the status. It's unloading on node 1. And if we look on the console, I think I have, you can see some stuff where pool 1 is exiting. I think this is my journal on this box. So let it run. There we go. And the status updated now. The volumes are on node 2. So if I minimize the browser again, they're gone from this node. And if I go back over to my node 2, we can see this one I was in the NSS console, so we can watch the volume load, and we see that the pool loaded, the 2 volumes are loaded. If I type space here, I can see the volumes, and we see them on the desktop. So we know our cluster's working. We're able to shift a resource back and forth. So this is excellent. Excellent to see. And that's your basic cluster services. So it's very easy to do everything from the web page, and that's what makes the OES services nice. Once you got everything here in place, it's all managed through the web, and fairly easy to do. So I have a Windows 10 user. So let's try that. Let's create a user here. Oh. Yeah, I'm just going to create another user in the home directory. I'm not going to get too complicated, but this will be my Win10. Well, let's do some user, and I'll be Windows 10 is my user. And context, again, you could just do a search, which I will do here, but you could just type that in. Alright, so I'm creating this user, and I'm trying to think. I think I need a password policy for Windows to go in, so I'm not actually I won't do a Windows test in this demo. I will do it in another setting, but basically I could create the user here and then map the drive and then show the failover. But since I haven't really finished all the configuration, I could leave that for another purpose. This set simple password is for Windows. There, I'll set it. Maybe if I just do that, the Windows guy can log in here. This is my demo user. Department of Home. Alright, that is good. And for access to volumes. Alright, let's see if that will help. So I've created the user. Waiting for but the simple password cannot is when I'm able to create a LDAP connection USS. Alright, well, that could be my time is off, I'm thinking, on here, because we should have been able to create our SSL connection. Anyway, like I said, that's beyond this video, so I will work on this, fix this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.